Hi, hello there, and welcome back to my minute lecture. This is Dr. Samurai, a professor in Japan specializing in international social pathology. And today's topic is Mr. Charles Albright. Okay, in the first half, let's look at general information on Mr. Charles Albright. Then in the latter half, let's look into information from my personal exchanges with him. Okay, are you ready? So let's begin with our thug profile 19. In Dallas, Texas, they found 3 dead bodies of prostitutes with both their eyes all removed. No eyes of those 3 dead bodies. Police were sure it was Charles who did that, but because what was found was all situational evidences, he is now serving only life sentence. Okay? Let's look at more details, alright? He was at an orphanage and was adopted by I think it was a elementary school teacher. But anyway, at the age of 0, before he becomes 1 year old, he was adopted by a teacher who was very overprotective. This is kind of a wide meaning, but anyway, overprotective, always looking at whatever he does, alright? And also excessively into him getting a good education, so to speak. Because she is a teacher, she wanted him to have a good education. So because of that, he passed 2 grades. He jumped 2 grades up because of his mother's, seriousness about educating him. At the age 10, he was given a gun and he shooted small animals, and helped by his mother, he was into taxidermy, helped by his mother, of small animals he shooted. By the gun he probably was presented by his mother. There's an episode that because his mother was very frugal, she couldn't buy real eyes for stuffed animals, and instead he told Charles to use button for their eyes. So although he wanted to use real eyes for his taxidermy, he had to use buttons instead. Okay, and at the age of 18, there's also an episode that he cut out the eyes of his friend's girlfriend, put them on another girl's picture. Sorry about this noise because of the construction. This is the life. New houses everywhere. Good or bad. Anyway, so there was this eye thing, button, and cutting out eyes and pasted it on others kind of thing. And his mother was over controlling Mr. Charles Albright. Okay, he occasionally committed stealing, violence. That is a sign of his life being stressful, right? Because his mother was domineering. Originally, he wanted taxidermist, so that hope progressed to become a doctor. So he entered a pre-med course, but he repeated stealing things, so he was kicked out. So it was becoming kind of pathological because he could not stop stealing. That is a good sign of his psychopathy going up, because I told you, stealing is a sign of wanting to invade into others' territory at his will. It leads to controlling others, okay? So he was kicked out of school, and also he kept fraud and stealing, and he was in and out of prison. At the age of 48, his adoptive controlling mother passed away. For the first time, he went to visit his biological mother, and nobody knows how it went, but he was almost 50, and that was the first time he met with his biological mother. Okay, and at the age of 3, his father died, and he obtained significant amount of heritage money. So he got divorced from his wife, with whom he has been together for since 20 years old, and having one daughter. But at 53, I'm divorced. In the middle of 50s, like 55 or so, he started to play with the prostitute. It is said that at the age of 57, he killed one. At the age of 58, he killed 2. And both eyeballs were removed from all the 3 dead bodies. This is the general story. But isn't it kind of interesting? As soon as his mother died, he started to be at the liberty of doing anything he wanted, and starting to play with, prostitutes and stuff like that. So this is another story of a boy having to be a good boy under the eyes of his mother, kind of thing. Mama's boy. This type of case, or so many. The thing is, jurors admitted that Albright's hair was found at the murder site of his 3rd victim, and based upon this evidence, he received life sentence. So, if he had been guilty for all 3, he should have gotten a death penalty. But there's only one, and which was also situational evidence with hair. So it was kind of weak. But he still got the life because the circumstantial evidences were so solid that did not allow others to commit these crimes. Okay, getting into part 2, I would like to share with you my personal information with Mr. Charles Albright. My first impression of Mr. Charles was typical double standard person, typical two-faced person. So I guess constantly aggressive, controlling mother, and this could happen very often in case of adoption, because those mothers who could not have their biological children, they have too high expectations on adoptive children. Do you understand? That is not a bad thing, but if she never backs off and push it all the way, he must be under too strong pressures by mother. The boy has only one way. He cannot show through himself. So I think his double face attitudes was already fixed at his early age. So he is a good boy. He was a good boy before his mother, but because of that stress, he just keep committing petty crimes. That is why he is still trying to play his innocence till he dies. Pathological lying is one of the most outstanding features of a psychopath. But here I would like to give you one important point. That is, there are two types. One is like Mr. Charles Albright. He is a good boy while he does bad things behind. The other type is his respect for his mother and his feeling of having to pay back to her is too deep. He kills his own desires and devoted all himself to her. Do you understand? One goes halfway, the other goes all the way. In a sense, halfway is good because he still has his himself, right? And he releases it behind. But the other type, all the way type, he doesn't even have his own ego. He doesn't even have himself and gave everything of himself to his mother. So he is left with nothing once he loses his mother. And based upon those two types, former becomes serial type, the latter becomes mass murder type, which means that's one big thing and that's the end of the story. Okay, so it's very important criteria to distinguish two different type of personality. Of course, he had justified himself by pointing out the details of what the police did. He told me in an episode that it was very early in the morning and he was still sleeping at his house, and this police raid, they threw this grenade into his house like he was a gang leader. He just emphasized how out of way the police raid did just to catch one man like Albright. And he also kept telling me how good a person he was and how much he was liked by others around him. He emphasized how good a pitcher he was in his softball team. He was the central figure in that team, he said. Those prostitutes were just friends who shared having an afternoon tea together and stuff like that. Doesn't it smelly a little bit, you know? He just tried to make me think these prostitutes have nothing to do with his sexual desires, which I believe was crushed by his mother when she was alive. On the other hand, once I asked a little bit, just a little bit about the eyes, he, gave me maybe too much, like way more information than I wanted and expected, and I thought that itself was very unnatural. I just said something like, those eyes are kind of removed and in a sort of surgical manner by professional. And he goes like, eyes, structure is made like this, and how the eyes were connected by nerve systems and so on and on and on, and even told me what I couldn't even understand because it was too deep into speciality. Excuse me. He looked very happy when he was explaining about the eye structures. Maybe because I was college teacher, he felt like he was above me in his own field. Or he said this, listen to this, how psychopath lies about the details. Now, I've been telling you, right? They either deny the investigator or they deny a deep technical part of what happened, right? I'm talking about the latter now. He goes like this, you know what? There is also a possibility that the eyes were removed after the bodies were transferred to ME. So he's saying the doctor who works as ME removed their eyes for some reason. I just couldn't believe, He said some kind of a reason, but it was not persuasive at all. But this is how they go for a technical wrong to deny what the police did to him. Okay? Amazing thing was his cellmate. We call it Sally. His cellmate even wrote to me a couple of times, and in his letter he said something like, there's many innocent people arrested, and like a Charlie, and blah 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 blah. So I think Charlie first deceived his Sally, created this environment that he is arrested for over nothing to make the environment comfortable to himself. Okay? But it was amazing. His life was pathological lie, all the time. We just kept talking about those meaningless denial by him, and I started to get tired, because I have to write down too, right? So one time I came across an article in the magazine that says totally opposite thing to what Charles Albright told me so far. So I just teared that part out and included it into the envelope and sent it to Charlie, right? And what about this? Why this article says things like this, denying everything you have told me? That's the time, I guess, he made a decision that, I cannot win him over. He can never be my friend. He can never be on my side. That's the point. They lie, right? And they try to deceive to have us on his side. That's their psychological, aim. That way, they can maintain the lifestyle they have been having since he was a little kid. That double standard, double-faced life. He is a good boy thing, actually doing bad things behind. Okay? Several months passed. I happened to come across a video on the web. He was showing what he never showed me before. He goes like this, or he, intentionally try to scare by talking about removing eyes and all those things he did. I guess it was because of the attention by the media. He became high to control himself. And from the smell of what I saw, I concluded he did it. I've been feeling that way, but that video content 100% confirmed me that he was the killer, okay? And all those things were a lie, And I tell you one other thing, and I'm going to wrap this minute lecture up. As I have been telling you, serial murder happens due to the unification of sexual urge and aggressiveness. Because of their childhood environment, sexual urge and aggressive urge mixed up since he was a little boy, right? This was the engine, and they always kill one pattern, right? Which is called MO, modus operandi, right? And I will tell you one more thing. There's another thing called signature. Signature is like a trademark that serial killers do to show this I did, or just to get psychological satisfaction from this killing. Some people take wedding rings and give it to his own wife. They do all kinds of things that they don't have to do practically, but they just cannot help doing it. Why they want to do it? Because during those long time period that he felt he was inferior, those young ages before he commit his first suicide, which is his first winning experience, right? All those depressed period of time, they kind of encounter certain things that gives them special impression. Like Samuel Little was rejected by good-looking white girl, so he wanted to kill. He killed everybody, but he loved to kill beautiful white, female, right? Ed Kemper, who was called a co-ed killer, right? Why he killed co-ed? Only because he knew he is too ugly to make friends with the good-looking, young, happy-looking, college girls, right? So those objects that the serial killers kill have something that they have inferiority complex. They have something they indeed want so badly but couldn't, right? That could become part of the signature. And in this Mr. Charles Albright case, what was it? It was the eyeballs of taxidermy, because he wanted to make the stuffed animal as real as possible, but all he could get from his mother was just a cheap button, and that stayed on in his mind, and that is the reason why he removed eyeballs of the victims, and that's why he called the eyeball killers, and that's his signature. Okay, so I think I gave you some new information today. I would like to think it over while you drive or while you lie down on your couch. I hope that thinking and understanding will be of some help to you to live this confusing and confused world with a sense of security. Okay, now, thank you so much for listening to my minute lecture till the end. And until next time, have a wonderful time. Okay, bye-bye.